Welcome back to the Star Trek Critic. Today we are halfway through the animated series with the Terratin incident. In this episode, the Enterprise crew shrinks. The Stardate places this right after the Hollow World episode of the third season, and they're going to check out a burned out supernova named Arachna, which sounds like a giant spider. Uhura is receiving a signal from the star Cephus. They call it Cephus, but it's spelled Cepheus in the subtitles. It turns out it's an old signal and it spells Terratin. The first point is lost because McCoy randomly shows up on the bridge. He wasn't there before. Here is the first eye, and what's really strange is McCoy thinks this is a big waste of time to check out this signal. And -1 point for listing this planet as Class M. It clearly is not. No, this doesn't look like Class M at all. This is eye number 2. It's always good to know that the engines are purring like happy kittens. This is the first time we see lab animals that react like canaries in a coal mine. They would make Dr. Phlox proud. Of course, nowadays I'm sure animal rights activists would complain, even though it is a cartoon. And the scanner gets them all. Look close, is that another turbolift door by the screen? Turns out the people of this planet have a very interesting communication system. Scotty is calling from engineering, but this is his position on the bridge, so -1 point. The dilithium crystals are peeling, and Kirk has to pose like Peter Pan. These are dilithium crystals under a microscope. Shout out to the animated series for creating a diverse crew. It looks like the people are all getting smaller.
And Leon's getting larger.
But right now they think the ship is getting bigger. Of course, we know that's impossible. It's also impossible for people to shrink, so -1 point. And the next point is lost for a dirty animation plate. They can't call for help either. At least they tried. Usually they don't. If Eric's has 3 arms and legs, shouldn't he also have 3 eyes and ears? They really don't say shrinking in this show though, they say contracting. Look closely. McCoy says they all weigh the same, just the space between the atoms shrinks. This will probably kill you in real life. And it's affecting the animals too, which means all life is shrinking. That would include the food if they have real food too, wouldn't it? Shout out to the writers to point out their uniforms are also made out of organic material and shrinking too. This is a great way to explain on a kids show why they aren't running around naked all the time. So, if this was Voyager, would the bioneural gel packs they have shrink too? I think they would. Just a reminder, this is a kids show. Look at his hand real quick. -1 point for the ship and planet not moving. Where did they get the wood to make these ladders? Sulu has a panic attack and wants to fire at the planet. He usually isn't like this, but the whole purpose of this scene is so he can fall and break his leg. Aww. Look closely, his right leg is in a splint. It would probably be better not to move him at all, but the writers want to show how hard it is for them to do stuff. And the crew is still thinking like they should act like full-size people. But now it's his left leg that is broken, so -1 more point. Good news, Nurse Chapel is thinking like a shrunken person should. Yes! What's up with all the needles being left around the ship? The next point is lost because fish tanks are always covered. The next point is lost here since Nurse Chapel still weighs 120 pounds, and with that density would have just sunk to the bottom and drowned like a lead weight, unless they cracked the aquarium open and drained it. Luckily they found another needle laying around. The micro laser idea worked. The next point is lost for not using the metric system. The next point is lost for not beaming a probe down first. That would have been much safer. Scotty says aye. Spock is foreshadowing using the transporter to solve all their problems. Now we know where the next generation writers got their ideas for their own TV show. They stole it from the animated series. The next point is lost for the communicator being destroyed because the transporter locks on the communicator and not on the person, so he wouldn't be able to go back. Scotty says the third eye and watch your step. So why did the engineering crew go to the bridge if they were at risk of being beamed off too? He doesn't look full size there. -1 more point for Kirk firing on the city first before trying open communication. This first contact mission isn't going the best, but they manage. The only way they could call for help ended up shrinking the crew. But he has tons of dilithium to barter with. Terratin was a lost Earth colony whose people shrunk due to the nature of the planet, and these are their descendants. And the big never-answered question is, could these people be made full size? I don't think they could. It would have been better to send a scout party afterwards and dig up larger crystals. The next point is lost since Kirk says to fire phasers at the city to beam it up. And another point is lost since this city would be much bigger than one transporter pad. Now Star Trek steals from Disney with the mighty microscope.
We welcome your eye upon our city.
They are now going to take them to the planet Verdanus, so it will be hospitable to such small people. And the show ends with Kirk and Spock making one funny comment before they fly off into space. The Terratin incident, our halfway point in the animated series, gets a score of 85%.
Yes!
Please leave comments below, click that like button, the share button, that subscribe button, and check out my other videos and playlists, and I'll see you again soon.